Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. Abraham was an iconoclast. What does that mean? He destroyed idols. Abraham came about and revolutionized the world. In other words, everybody was an idol worshiper, and Abraham came and said, no, there's only one God whom we have to follow. I think that progress in general is based upon inconformity also. You're not satisfied with the reality the way you see it. You're not satisfied with the explanations that are given. And people like Galileo, Newton, Einstein came with revolutionary theories that what they really did was to say, listen, what we have learned up to now, many things are totally wrong. We have to start again. Of course, you cannot say that these people started from zero. We have knowledge from before also. Pythagoras, we have from the Greeks, from the Arabs, from many societies that were very inclined in scientific discoveries. However, new theories come about that try to explain the world in a different way. For instance, I always thought that there's a universal clock. You know, if it's 5 o'clock now, it may be 10 o'clock elsewhere, but every second passes by the same way, whether you live in Los Angeles, whether you live in Miami, whether you live in Israel, whether you live in any part of the world. Comes Einstein and says, no, there's something called relativity. And as a matter of fact, the concept of time is not absolute either. It changes. Is that the definitive theory of how the universe works? Well, it's the latest, but probably not the last one. Probably some new man, some new extraordinary mind will come in the future and will tell you, you know what? What you thought is not really 100% right, because I can explain many of the phenomena in the world that you could not explain by adopting a different theory. You know, I remember when I was in high school, I was taught, what is an axiom? An axiom is a truth that needs no proof, needs no proof. Later on, I learned something altogether different. You know what an axiom is? It's a truth that I cannot prove. In other words, really, it's an assumption. You know, mathematics is based on a set of axioms. You assume that these things are so, and by assuming this, you get certain results afterwards. And if these results prove to be useful, then the set of axioms is very good. But somebody can come out with something altogether different, a different set of axioms. In other words, these are assumptions that if you assume that this is so, the results will be altogether different. So we see these things are really plastic. They are not definitive. And as knowledge progresses, as we develop and we build upon what happened in the past, we may come up with altogether new theories. But I want to go back to Abraham. You know what Maimonides says? Maimonides says that he really did not start anew. What he did was revive what was known before, because Adam and Eve, Noah, humanity already knew of the existence of one God. What happened? It was somehow corrupted, that knowledge, because of different reasons. People abandoned the idea of monotheism, of one God, and started worshiping some of the effects, some of the creations of this God, the sun, the moon, the different powers. They felt that that satisfied them better. So came Abraham, and what he did was dust off all these false beliefs and return once again. What I'm trying to say is the following, you know. In science, we can start anew anytime. We can start with a different model altogether. When it comes to human behavior, when it comes to human beliefs, into feelings, we can start all over again. You know, we live in a wonderful age. We live in an age of iPhone, of internet, of instant communication with any part of the world. It is altogether different from what it was in my younger years. I remember that when I was a student at Yeshiva University, I would never call on the telephone my parents who lived in Lima, Peru. What I did was write a letter. and you waited a week or 10 days till the letter reached the destination, and then eventually you got, it was usually about 3 weeks, 4 weeks before there was an interchange of ideas. Today, with instant messaging, we do something altogether different. It is really a revolution that happened in the world. It is altogether different, of course, but yet, when it comes to human emotions, what moves us? Love, hate, generosity, envy. These are things that were present all along. So that I think that in the religious world, it is not a question of revolution. It is a question of evolution. We have to adapt our beliefs to new conditions, to new physical conditions. But to say that I'm going to rewrite my faith because of new knowledge, that is not quite correct, because we human beings do not really reinvent ourselves. We may be reinventing our actions, but our emotions, our being, our psyche is there really in a permanent form, implanted into our DNA. So therefore, one of the tenets that Maimonides says is that the law that God revealed in Mount Sinai is a permanent law. There is no need for a change in that, because human condition basically is the same. We have new aspects, new manifestations, but our core, which may be our soul, our inner psyche, remains the same. So therefore, don't fall prey to those who want to tell you, you know, we live in a different age, and all those laws are really, they pertain to a different type of environment in which we live. Nowadays, we are modern. We have to do away with many things. I tell you, you're being misguided, because the basic manifestations of our inner self, I say again, love, envy, hate, curiosity, all these things are really permanent in the human being. So what we should do really is adapt all our principles, our morals and ethics to new situations, and see how these principles that are immovable, that should not be changed at all, how they can be adapted to new situations.